Alright, this is my take on how to get financially independent within 10 years, explained in 10 simple rules. First rule, living cost is absolute. What I mean by that is that it's measured in absolute numbers. So you cannot say that your living cost is 10% of your earnings, because if 10% of your earnings and you're earning $1, that means your living cost is 4 cents. Otherwise, if your earnings is $1 million, that means the living cost is $40,000. Hence, the living cost is an absolute number. So in order to survive, there is a minimum baseline that must be fulfilled. That leads up to rule number 2. And that is that savings that we're doing is also absolute numbers. So if you're saving money without doing any investment, that means you're piling up cash in your mattress, then the growth rate will also be in absolute numbers. So if you set aside $1,000 per year, then the growth rate will be $1,000 per year. And if you want to reach $1 million, you can do the math, right? How many years you need to put off extra money every single year. So it will take forever. And also, if you're going to live on that save money that you're having, because it doesn't grow by itself, you're going to deplete it after a while. So you need to pile up such a big pile of money that it will last your lifetime. And that leads us to this third rule, that if you instead doing investment, then that is a relative perspective. So the growth rate of your savings, if being invested, is always relative. You cannot say that your portfolio grow by $1,000 per year. So this is the reverse opposite case compared to rule number 2. So here it depends on the portfolio's current value. So if you have a small portfolio, the growth rate in absolute numbers will be small. And if the portfolio is large, the growth rate in absolute numbers will be large. And this leads us to the 4% rule, or rule 4. And that states that if you're going to live off your investments and by buying stocks on the stock market, then there is a general rule saying that 4% growth rate per year is what you can expect, and that is the sustainable long perspective growth rate. So rule 5 states that the growth rate of your portfolio in absolute numbers must surpass the living cost, which is also measured in absolute numbers. So if the median income in US is $65,000 per year, and let's say that your living cost is $40,000 per year, then the growth rate of that portfolio with a 4% sustainable growth rate will lead to that the portfolio must have a size of a minimum of $1 million. Rule 6 says that get rich by savings only won't work. So if you want to reach $1 million, you can just pile up $100,000 per year. But that's more than the median income of the household, right? So of course this will not work. So you need to add risk to compensate these poor saving levels. Rule 7, get rich with high risk investment. So on the other hand, if you instead start with a capital of $100,000 and you invest that on the stock market, in order to reach $1 million within 10 years, then you need a growth rate of 29%. So, and that is without any extra deposits. So you just have the 100K, then 29% every year will bring you $1 million. This is the rates that Warren Buffett once had, so we can call this the Buffett growth rate. Rule 8, or the 29% first year rule. If you can't achieve or don't want to take the risk that comes with 29% growth rate, then the remaining must be compensated for by savings. So for example, if you start with $100,000, then during the first year you want to achieve 29% growth. That is $29,000 in absolute numbers. But if you only manage to get $10,000, that means a 10% growth rate, then you need to put in the extra money for the remaining $19,000 for that particular year. Rule 9, or the 29% 10th year rule. So if you can't keep up with the rate of 29%, then you will not be able to reach your goal of reaching $1 million. And let's say you are on the final year of this plan and your portfolio's value is $770,000. Then if you only have a 10% growth rate during that year, that means that you need to deposit an extra $153,000 to be able to reach that $1 million. And that is an impossible huge saving demand for that year. And this leads to our conclusion that investment failures in the beginning can be compensated for by extra deposits. But if you do investment failures in the end of your plan, this cannot be compensated for. So use therefore the early days to learn and become expert for the later years of your investment. And that brings us to the final 10th rule, that saving is king but 29% rules. And what I mean by that is that if you make extra deposits during the years, then allows you to achieve 1 million goal at a lower rate than the 29%, but then it becomes expensive very fast. So example, let's say you can set off $10,000 per year in extra deposits and for this the growth rate needed will just be 25% instead of 29%. That is a change by only 4% units. So the risk is still very high compared to the case where you don't put in any extra money at all. In the sort of mid-risk perspective example, and you set off $40,000 extra per year, then the growth rate needed will only be 15%. So then it's like in the mid-risk perspective, and it will cost you $40,000 per year. That's almost half of this $100,000 per year if you want to save the money straight up. And if you want to have the safe perspective and calculating for a 4% growth rate, then you need to put in $80,000 per year. So the 29% still rules, even if you like savings, and savings is king. And then there is also a zero rule, and that is for you that doesn't have $100,000. So this system from rule 1 to 10 you can apply for each factor of 10 that you are lacking behind. So if you are on 10,000K at the moment and you need to reach 100,000K, it will take you another 10 years. So from 10K to 1 million, it will take you a total of 20 years. And you follow rule 1 to 10 above for each and every decade that you work on.